The officer paused, clearly caught off guard. "We didn't need to check her ID," he replied defensively. "She was acting suspiciously and we followed protocol." Hayes pressed further. "So, you didn't think it might be important to confirm her identity before accusing her of a crime?" Stevens shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I didn't see the need." That's when Naomi stood up, the tension in the room mounting. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady but firm, "I believe it's time you all knew who I really am." She pulled out a sleek, official-looking ID from her pocket and handed it to her attorney, who quickly passed it to the judge. The room fell silent as the judge's eyes scanned the identification. The look on his face turned from curiosity to shock. It was a CIA identification, one that marked Naomi Rivers as a highly ranked operative within the agency. "Is this some kind of joke?" Stevens asked, clearly bewildered. She's a CIA agent." Naomi's gaze never wavered. "I'm not here as a criminal. I'm here as someone who was wrongly accused by officers who didn't bother to do their job properly. I was on a mission that had nothing to do with what you've accused me of. The evidence you presented was fabricated, and you made assumptions based on my appearance and the wrong place at the wrong time." The room was stunned into silence. The officers exchanged nervous glances, their earlier bravado now replaced by anxiety. Naomi continued to speak, revealing her true purpose and the classified mission she had been working on. She provided details of her assignment that no civilian could possibly know, further corroborating her claim and proving the officer's mistake. The prosecutor, who had been relying on the officer's testimonies to convict Naomi, now found himself scrambling. His case had crumbled in front of him, and he knew that the truth was about to expose everything. The courtroom was on the edge of its seat as Naomi's true identity was revealed, the lies that had been spun in an attempt to frame her unraveling one by one. Officer Stevens, realizing the gravity of his actions, stood up shakily. "I had no idea. I didn't mean to. This wasn't supposed to happen," he stammered. Naomi responded calmly. "Your ignorance nearly cost me my career and my freedom. You didn't bother to do your job properly, and you assumed that because I looked a certain way, I was guilty. That's not just a failure of your duty. It's a failure of judgment." The judge, now fully aware of the situation, addressed the court. "It is clear that this case was mishandled from the start. Officer Stevens and Officer Matthews, you are both dismissed from the case, and we will be investigating the events that led to this wrongful arrest. The charges against Ms. Rivers are hereby dropped." Naomi stood tall, unshaken by the events that had transpired. She had faced the possibility of ruin, but through her composure and unyielding integrity, she had not only cleared her name, but had exposed the flawed system that allowed such mistakes to happen. As she left the courthouse, Naomi felt a sense of quiet pride. It wasn't just about clearing her name, it was about showing that no matter the odds, the truth always finds a way to prevail. The courtroom buzzed with tension. The atmosphere was heavy, and everyone seemed to be on edge. The prosecutor stood, confidently laying out the case against a black woman who had been accused of a serious crime. The police officers in the room gave off a sense of superiority, their smug expressions showing they believed they had the upper hand. But little did they know, the woman sitting at the defendant's table was not just any ordinary citizen. She was a high-ranking CIA agent one whose skills and intellect were far beyond anything they could imagine. It all started when Officer Stevens and his partner, Officer Matthews, responded to a supposed robbery at a local business. They quickly arrested the woman, a quiet and composed individual named Naomi Rivers, after they claimed to have found her near the scene of the crime. But what they didn't realize was that Naomi had been on an entirely different mission, one that had nothing to do with the alleged robbery. They also had no idea who they were dealing with. Naomi was an undercover CIA operative, part of a covert mission that involved tracking down an international criminal syndicate operating in the area. She had been meticulously gathering intel, working with her team to dismantle an operation that threatened national security. But when the officers arrived on the scene, they mistook her for a criminal because she was at the wrong place at the wrong time. At the trial, the prosecutor used the officer's testimony to paint a damning picture of Naomi. They claimed she had acted suspiciously, that she was caught red-handed in the vicinity of the crime scene, and that her demeanor was that of someone who was guilty. They even went as far as to suggest that she had been attempting to escape when they apprehended her. Their testimonies were smooth and rehearsed, painting Naomi as a cold, calculating criminal. But Naomi remained calm and collected throughout the trial. Her lawyer, a seasoned defense attorney named Samuel Hayes, stood by her side, knowing that something bigger was at play. He sensed that there was more to this case than what the officers were letting on. But he needed to find the right way to reveal the truth without causing too much of a stir. As the trial progressed, Officer Stevens took the stand, confidently asserting that Naomi was guilty. His story seemed airtight, but Naomi's lawyer had a plan. After several rounds of questioning, Hayes asked Stevens a seemingly innocent question. "Officer Stevens, could you explain why, despite your extensive training and experience, you did not think to check for any identification on the woman you apprehended?"